Well, guys, this Montero is officially totaled. All right, guys, I just got a phone call that no one wants to get. Somebody just called me and said, hey, I'm so sorry, but we've had an accident in your Montero. So I've had a Montero that I'm renting out. It's the blue one I flew to California to get, and apparently this guy just crashed it. So I don't have a lot of details. I just got the phone call. It said it's wrecked. It's at West Yellowstone. You can come pick it up. And so I've got the car dolly in tow. I'm gonna head down to West Yellowstone and figure out what happened and go retrieve this thing. I'm not sure how to feel right now. Apparently everyone is okay, so that's good, but I'm pretty disappointed about this. I'm pretty sad that it's probably dead. But anyways, I'm gonna hit the road. I'm taking you guys with me. Let's go pick this thing up. So if you're new to the story of this Montero, let me fill you in. I actually bought this car a year ago, sight unseen, in Sacramento, California. Me and my buddy John, we bought one-way tickets. We flew out there, met a great guy and actually a fan of the channel, bought the car sight unseen, and we road tripped it all the way back to Montana. During the process, we got to see some beautiful parts of the country. We went on adventures, we jumped it around in the sand dunes, and we discovered that this car is actually in amazing condition. After going through the title work, we figured out that it was actually in the original owner's name. And so this is functionally a two-owner car. And you could really tell that the guy before me took really good care of it. So after I got it back, my wife daily drove it for a while, and it was just a great vehicle to have in the fleet. Now, I mentioned that this vehicle was out on a rental, so I actually rent this car out over the summer on a site called Outdoorsy. And you can kind of think of Outdoorsy sort of like Turo and Airbnb combined. Basically, what people do is they rent RVs, whether that be a trailer, a full-on motorhome, or in my case, what's called a truck camper. And so this would be like your slide-in truck campers, or in the case of my Montero, a rooftop tent and all the camping gear inside of the car. So people can fly into my local airport, pick up the car, drive it around, drop it back off, I turn it over, and there's a way for me to generate income over the summer. So this thing had been booked out all summer. I've had tons of people coming in and using it. Everyone's loved it. And until now, I haven't had a problem with it. All right, I'm pulling up to the parking lot. This is where they said the Montero's at. I don't see it yet. I haven't laid eyes on it yet. Oh, I'm so nervous. I guess we'll see what it looks like. All right, I think I found the spot where they're keeping my car. I am so nervous. I have not seen it yet. I'm just gonna take you guys with me as we see the damage, what's done, what's salvageable. Oh, I can see it right there. It's turned around the other way. Oh, I can see something's hanging down. A couple other wrecked cars over here. Oh, there it is. Okay. All right, you guys are coming with me. I haven't seen this thing yet. Holy crap. Oh my gosh. Look at how much the motor is gone. Looks like there's wood here from probably hitting some kind of barrier. The whole front clip is missing. That's the motor mount right there. It's completely ripped off the motor mount. Holy crap. I was not expecting this much damage. Guys, I'm like dumbfounded. This is crazy. It's hard to tell in the video. That's bent. This whole frame rail is bent. I mean, there's no way. This is totaled. 100% totaled. There's not a chance. Windshield's totally cracked. Looks like maybe the firewall got pushed up. Tent looks okay. The whole roof looks okay. The people are okay. This awning slid out of its mount. All right, I don't know if the car's locked or not. Oh, no, it's not. Okay, that whole fender's pushed in. How did the airbags not go off? The dash is pushed up. There's glass inside here. Rear view mirror is off. This is open. Some food in here, some jelly beans. So these guys had eaten quite a bit of food in here. How did the airbags not go off? It's actually kind of concerning. Some beer. It's well, to be frank, it's a slightly suspicious, but this is, I mean, it's still sealed. Smells like beer in here for sure. Upon further inspection, I can confirm that at least all of these beers are full. They just ruptured in the crash. So I'm not suspecting anyone of doing anything. It's kind of a relief actually, because drinking and driving, that's no joke, but it does reek of beer in here. Not that it matters. This car is gonna be totaled. Here's my DVD headrest, or the monitor headrest that exploded. There's the grill. It's missing an emblem right here, but actually appears to be in pretty good shape. Yeah, here's the headrest that exploded. Obviously the front took the impact. The back is fine. Can't believe just 2 days ago this car was perfectly running, driving great, and now it's completely totaled. Yeah, there's the bumper, split right in two. Wiring harness, all of that. Just nuts. Okay, so I need to tow this back. I'm 2 hours from home right now. I need to tow this back. The first step is going to be getting in it and hopefully putting the car in neutral. That's the only way I'm going to be able to tow it. So I'm going to try to get in there, try to figure out if I can put it in neutral and push it backwards so that I can winch it onto my car dolly. I'm also, I don't really want to open the hood right now because I don't have a way to secure it if it's going to flop around, but I really want to get in there and see that motor. I'm so bummed. That thing is absolutely thrashed. I'm really glad everyone's okay. This looks like a serious impact. But anyways, I'm going to push this back and get it loaded up onto my trailer. Okay, obviously no lights coming in. Wow, everything is really smashed up here. Either this guy was really short, or yeah, everything got smushed in. I mean, obviously, like on the dash, you could see it came all the way back here. This is pretty crazy. So I should be able to just shift it into neutral. Okay, that worked. I got the key in. Obviously, battery's been disconnected or something happened. So yeah, I'm gonna try to push this backwards now and see if I can get some better shots for insurance, and also just make sure it's going to roll because I got to tow it back on the car dolly. So I'm taking pictures underneath the car right now for insurance, and I'm recognizing this transmission and transfer case are hanging at a really weird angle. I think the entire thing got pushed back significantly. So that drive shaft is not at a great angle even for towing. So I might have to figure that out before I go back. Jeez. I can't imagine what it was like inside of the car when this impact happened. Again, I'm so glad the guys are okay. So I just got done taking all my pictures. The sun is about to set. I've got to get this thing loaded up. I really want to dive in more into this and see, but honestly, guys, right now, I've got a pretty big problem on my hands. This is my rental vehicle. Like I've mentioned, this is something that's supposed to make me money. It's actually the money that comes from this is helping my wife go through grad school. And so it's kind of important. It's obviously a bummer that it's broken in general, just to lose a one owner Montero. This thing was mint when I picked it up. Go back and watch the video of when me and my buddy John flew and picked it up. That's tragic, but also like I've got a business problem on my hands. So anyways, that's a problem for later on. I've got to get this thing loaded up onto the car dolly. I've got it all set up. I removed the skid plate. I might have to address that drive shaft, but either way, right now I need to get it out of the national park. And so I'm going to load it up and start heading home. So I got the Montero all loaded up, and this car dolly is really good for getting cars on, especially when they're not running, using the winch system. And it was really easy to load it up and get ready to head on down the road. Now, West Yellowstone is about 2 hours from where I live, and so I was looking at a pretty late night. And things were going relatively smoothly until the Montero started to give me a little bit of resistance, and it started to pull really weird. So after about an hour of driving, I pulled over on the side of the road just outside of Big Sky, Montana. So unfortunately, I'm laying on the side of the highway right now, just outside of Big Sky, Montana, because I made a critical error with this drive line. So this is one issue. The drive line angle is obviously not good, but the car started to feel really weird when I was towing it, and it felt really uncomfortable. And so I jumped under here and started looking around. I realized that some things were hot that shouldn't be hot. Specifically, the transmission is on fire. So I jumped up inside, and I looked here at my shifter, and I realized there's so much damage done to this console that I was actually towing it in drive. I had no idea. I thought it was in neutral. The lever position was in neutral, but because of how tweaked everything is, I was actually towing this in drive this entire time. So that's obviously not good for anything. So I jumped down here and I did pull out those drive shaft bolts. Unfortunately, because everything's so wedged, I can't actually get the drive shaft out. However, it should stay in there. There's a little kind of round indent in the pinion flange and coming out of the drive shaft end. So it should stay in there. I'm just gonna take it really easy and hopefully I can limp this thing home. After disconnecting the drive shaft, the car pulled just fine. I was able to make it home safely and park the Montero while I called insurance and figured out what to do next. So let's talk about what happened. Now, I didn't get any pictures. I wasn't driving the car, as you probably heard me talk about. This is something that I rent out, and so I got a text saying, hey, this thing is broken. So obviously, this car has crashed, and I am disappointed. As I mentioned a little bit in the video, this is a car that I've had a lot of history with. Me and my buddy John, we flew out to California to get it. We bought it sight unseen, realized that it was a really good car. It was a single owner vehicle. So the title was in the original owner's name and been so well cared after. And I was just so excited to be a steward of it. But because I have so many cars and because I needed to make money, I did rent it out. And I knew there were going to be risks in renting it out. People aren't going to treat it as well as I am, and it's going to get a lot of time on the road, a lot of miles, which means a lot of maintenance, but it also means just a lot of exposure to different driving conditions. So I always knew that this was going to be a possibility. Now, obviously, no one hopes for this, both for the people who are renting it or for myself or for the car. But at the end of the day, I'm just glad everyone was safe. That's huge for me. The Montero did keep people safe, even though the airbags didn't go off, which is quite strange to me. I'm not sure how I feel about that yet as someone who puts my wife in a Gen 3 Montero. I know some of you guys are probably wondering. My only guess is that the log that came in to the front grille must have just hit at the perfect angle where it didn't trigger anything. Unfortunately, I never got any pictures of the actual crash. And I say unfortunately because it just would have been really nice to put the pieces of the puzzle together. I don't really want to glorify that. I don't need to revel in it, but it would have been nice to see exactly what happened because it appears that a guardrail went right through the front of this. So like I said, thankfully everybody was okay. They were able to carry on with their vacation. The guy was super apologetic, which doesn't make it a whole lot better, but to me, it's just no harm, no foul. They walked away, they still had a vacation, and I got the car back. So let's talk about getting the car back. I did end up towing it. I recovered it myself to save some cost, and it wasn't that far away. I've got some buddies in West Yellowstone, and so I went and stopped by to get them. I did have the issue with the transmission, towing it back, and that was unfortunate, but I don't actually need a transmission. So to lose that transmission, it's not a huge deal. It was just a pretty inconvenient thing to deal with so late at night. So after I got the vehicle back, I started the process of the title transfer and totaling the vehicle out with the insurance company. Now let me give you just a brief insight of what it's like to rent a car and then have that car totaled and figure that out. Honestly, this whole process has been super easy. So Outdoorsy took care of all of it. So when someone rents my car, they get insurance through Outdoorsy, not through their personal insurance, not through my personal insurance. So they purchase a separate insurance plan, and that's what covers all of their trip. And so these guys had an insurance plan, and Outdoorsy was covering the vehicle when it crashed. So I didn't call my insurance, I didn't call their insurance, I didn't have to get involved with that. I made one phone call to Outdoorsy and they sent me all the paperwork, said, hey, sign this, fill this out, talk about this. And they ended up totaling this car out, which is not a surprise. The engine's damaged, the frame is bent, the fenders are separating, the interior is trashed. It would have cost tens of thousands of dollars to restore this thing. It wouldn't have made any sense. So I was actually pleased to hear that the whole thing was totaled because with the crash this bad, if they were trying to do anything else, it just wouldn't have made sense. It would have been in the body shop for maybe even a year getting everything fixed. It just made sense that it was totaled. So the real question comes down to, what did they pay me? Because it's fine if they total out a car, but if they pay me $0 or way less than it's worth, then it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. If I'm gonna lose the car, I might as well have the money. And so I was actually planning on selling this car at the end of this season for $5,500. I think $55 is a pretty fair price. I ended up getting it for $32,500 or $32,50 when I picked it up, and it needed some work, it needed some maintenance. So I have about $5,000 into a total. It needs a little bit of work, or needed a little bit of work. It was burning some oil and it could use just a little bit of touch up from being a rental, but I thought $5,500 was a pretty good price. The unfortunate part is I was gonna sell it to a good friend of mine for that price so that he could have an adventure rig and so we could go exploring in Monteros together. But that's not gonna happen. So at the end of the day, I really wanted $5,500 out of it. I think that's fair market value. I also think that gets me out of my investment in the car, and it will give me money to replace it if I wanted to go that route. So not explaining that to the insurance company, they actually did the fair assessment and they came back with exactly $5,500. So I was pleased with that. However, you guys know, I love to part out Monteros. I've got a Gen 3. There's lots of good stuff on this, like the seat that I'm sitting on right now. And so I actually said, hey, I'd like to buy this back. And they offered to sell it back to me or do an owner buyback for $250, which is a great deal. So I got $5,250 for the car, and I got to keep the car with a salvage title. And so that's led me to the process of parting this thing out and making the most of it. So I've actually sold about $1,000 worth of parts off of this Montero since I bought it back. I sold the wheels and tires and the seats for $450, sold a couple other odds and ends for about $250. I'm gonna strip the catalytic converters off, that's gonna be another $150, and then I'm hoping to get about $150 in scrap as well. If you add all that together, I'm not 100% sure how the math is adding up on camera, I'm right around $1,000. So all said and done, the price that I got for this Montero after it had been crashed is right around $6,500, which I think is a great deal. Now, obviously, I would have rather had this car on the road, fixed it up, and sold it for $6,500 and know that it's out there, people are going on adventures in it, and get to pass this thing on, but that's just not what happened. At the end of the day, this process only took about a week, and it was really smooth, it was really easy. I didn't even have to have someone come out and do an adjustment or actually look at the car, because they could just tell from the pictures, yeah, this thing is toast. But it was a pretty painless process. I didn't have to talk to the person who crashed it or the renter. It was all just through the insurance company, and they took care of it really quickly. So I'm pretty impressed with that. So that's the car. But as I mentioned before, I actually rent this out on Outdoorsy as a way to help pay for my wife's grad school. So my wife is going to grad school, and with our situation financially, I knew I needed to make some other income in order to help put her through school. And so the primary purpose of this summer is to help pay for her school this fall and this upcoming winter. And so I called Outdoorsy and said, okay, hey, I want to talk about totaling out the vehicle, what that looks like. And they said, we can take care of that. And then I said, I also have 6 other rentals for the rest of the summer. What happens to those? So they told me, which is completely understandable, that Outdoorsy will cover the cost of the car through their insurance, but they do not cover any loss of potential income, which does make sense. However, it puts me in a little bit of a bind. See, I had this car rented out for the next 6 weeks, and I was about to make $3,000 of profit off of renting this car. Now, $3,000 is nothing to shake a stick at. That's a decent amount of money, and it's a good chunk of change that I was hoping to put towards my wife's grad school. And so when I got the call that this was wrecked, I had some decisions to make. So like I said, $3,000, that's not a small amount of money. And I already had those people excited about their rentals. And so I was thinking about, how do I make sure that they still get the best experience coming out here to Montana, enjoying the car, enjoying the outdoors. And Outdoorsy does cover this. And so if you contact Outdoorsy and there's a problem with the car that you rented, they'll help you get into another one. But I really wanted to keep those customers, and I really wanted to generate that income. Now, honestly, if it was like $1,500 or $1,000, I'd probably say, dang, that sucks. I'll figure out another way. I won't bother with it. But $3,000 was enough to get me motivated. Some people, they would have called it quits. Some people would have said, man, I tried and it didn't work out. But I came up with a solution. Let me show you how I solved this problem. So when I got the call that the Montero was crashed, I only had 5 days to figure out a solution. So I was going back and forth on what do I do? I obviously can't repair this. None of my other vehicles really make good rentals. They're just too customized, or they're too specific to what I like. And so I was scrambling and scrambling. So I jumped on Facebook Marketplace, and less than 24 hours later, I bought this. This is my new to me 2014 Subaru Outback with the Go Fast camper, all the camping gear you need, and an awning. Now, I realize this is not a Montero, and that's not really why you're here, but I just wanted to show you guys this because I ended up picking this up, and I ended up saving all of the rentals that I had. So every single person transferred over, and they jumped in this, and they said, so sorry to hear about your crashed Montero. We'll totally transfer over to this. So I was able to save my business for the rest of the summer, and I got the thing for a steal. It has 160,000 miles on it. I picked it up for $3,000. So not only am I going to make money on this during the summer, but when it comes time to sell this in the fall, I'll probably make money on it when I sell it as well. So there you go, guys. That's the story of what happened with this Montero. And obviously, I'm super bummed that it got crashed. I wanted to pass it on to my friend. I was hopeful that this one would go on to be a car that was really great for people going on adventures. I was even looking into building it, but at the end of the day, it's just a car and it's totaled. So I'm just glad that the people who are driving it, they're safe, and I'm glad that I was able to buy that Subaru, get some more money in my pocket and not lose that business, and I'll make money on it. And I was able to recycle some of these parts, not only to local people around here, but also keep some for myself. So obviously, this is a bummer. Thanks so much for joining me in this. I'm just grateful right now that I have other Monteros that I can get into, that I can keep working on. And so in the next videos, I'm gonna be getting into that. I've got Monteros torn apart all over my driveway right now. So I hope you guys will join me for that, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.